Hello, you beautiful souls. It is Jay here. What's going on? How have you been? I hope that you have been well. So, here we are. Welcome back to Harness the Shift. This is going to be a two-part deep dive into the most important revelations you need to understand in order to navigate these times right now. We're calling this series Gateway and Psychological Warfare, the Hidden War on Consciousness, because that's exactly what it is. They studied the soul, they turned it into a weapon, but our soul is not a weapon. It's a map back to God, back to our source, back to the divine creator. They feared what we could become if we knew the truth. So, this episode's going to dive into that. What is the truth? And so, part one is we're going to lay the foundation. We're going to break down the gateway process. I talked about this a little bit on one of the podcasts with my friend Alan, and so I'm going to get into it because I think it's such a important document because it really embodies everything that we are. And I'm like screaming it from the rooftops, and no one's paying attention because they're getting, caught up with everything that's going on in the matrix. But if we read this CIAD class on the gateway process or the gateway experience, we really start to understand human consciousness, number one, and how the intelligence community use that information to manipulate the masses and what it means for your soul. I'll also be sharing a personal journey. One of the journey, a personal experience from my journey, will say, where I witnessed while I was stationed in Germany, back in let's see, this was in 1996, 97. So I'm kind of telling my age here. So but anyway, so I witnessed I witnessed this color revolution that we're going through right now, that the former Yugoslavia was going through during that whole Balkan conflict. And how my own awakening journey led me out of Big Pharma and into this whole new mission, right? This whole new mission of humanity waking up and really us diving into really healing and understanding who we are. And I think when we understand who we are and we kind of have a baseline, man, great things happen. And once I began to understand my baseline and understand exactly what I was working with, I could start to tackle things. And as a result, over the last 6 months, I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. In January, um, I was working on a contract, and the contract was going very well. The sponsor was like really impressed with my experience and what I was producing and all of that. And then out of the blue, it was like this targeted attack to get rid of me. And I felt it coming on, and it was like, well, they were asking me about data being, basically they were alluding to that I was being fraudulent, and I wasn't having it. And I said, I'm not going to sit here and bust my ass like a slave for you people who are literally working against me. What's the point, right? So I ended up leaving. I've been wanting to get out of Big Pharma for the last probably 4 years. Once I started to awaken to the nonsense and really realize what it's all about, I just was like, you know, um, well, first of all, I think you're angry when you wake up and you realize that things are not true, and I'm not really helping people. I'm just getting caught up in the narrative of helping people, right? And and just kind of like the betrayal of it all, right? And so when I say that I understand what folks are going through out there, I really truly do. And I have the most sincerest compassion for what people are going through, because it's tough to come to the realization that we've been lied to our entire lives. And also on top of that, that always I've always questioned this thing about God. Like, I didn't understand the whole religion piece of it, and why religion pushed this, and why some Christians would tell you you're going to go to hell, and all of this. It didn't make sense to me because of the experiences that I've had in my life, and like God being there all along, and always having that connection with God no matter what, even in my midst of um my own uh alcohol abuse. I just, God never left my side. So it's hard for me to believe that there is a God that is uh this, angry, um tormenting God, that's this fearful God. I mean, God has been the most patient being ever in my life. And coming to the understanding, like, through past life regressions, and how, like, I've signed up for this, and it makes so much sense when you have all of the missing pieces and you can put them all together. Then you realize, oh my god, oh my goodness, I understand now why my life has been the way that it's been. So, little bits of wisdom that I'll shoot out here at you, so that you can understand that, I relate with you. I do. I relate with everyone out there, like that emotion of just being, betrayed and lied to. I'm with you. And but I will say that there has to come a point where you start to step into your healing journey, and you start to heal that, so that you don't let that, like, taint your being. um we are not operating at our fullest capacity when we're full of anger and hate and this resentment and all of that. Like, we are high vibrational creatures. We were created to be high vibrational, loving and understanding and compassionate beings. And when we're like there and operating there, like, beautiful things can happen. So um I just wanted you to know that I truly get it, and I'm with you on that. Okay? I'm with you on that journey. And although, we're all on our different journeys here, and we have different things we have to heal, and we've all had different experiences. Again, this is my perspective. Okay? This is my perspective on the things that I've gravitated towards. I have a nursing background, but then I also have this clinical research background, and then my education is in neuroscience. And so this D class was handed to me by a friend of mine back in 21, early 21. Actually, it might have been at the end of 20. And she handed this to me, and it was, everything has been spirit driven, right? And so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I'm not really fully grasping it, right? And then as I go on with my journey, I start to read it more, and then I'm like, okay, that's coming together. And it's all been this understanding, because if you don't really grasp what the whole consciousness thing is, like human consciousness, it's like it's so hard to, like, understand. Um and what this system has done is it's fragmented our consciousness over time, right? And it's kept us in these loops of amnesia where we're not remembering what's going on. So a lot of people are, like, doing a lot of healing, but they're doing a lot of healing from previous lifetimes, because it's all coming to the surface, right? And so I just want, I'm going to throw in some of that wisdom, that I've learned in my awakening journey, and what led me out of this, big pharma finally, and into this whole mission. And now I'm coming to understand that, I'm going to be doing retreats and bringing like-minded people, and breath work and these altered states of consciousness where, we can bring the brain into sync, using this hemisync that's also in this gateway process, to really do great things, right? To help people actually increase their consciousness and really do the deep soul work that needs to be done, in order to clear those things out. And a lot of it is to question our programming. And so, you've heard me talk about that. I write about it a lot, on Substack. And by the way, um, I have a blog on Substack, so make sure you go and check that out. I will leave the link to my Hubi link tree where you can check out everything. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. There's studies on LifeWave, and we'll get into LifeWave here in a little bit, but yeah, and then when we roll into part two, which will be a different podcast, we'll take it further, and we'll go into the history and the mechanics of this color revolution that we're seeing going on right now. I was in Germany, like I was telling you earlier, when all of that was happening in Bosnia-Herzegovina, I'm sorry, the former Yugoslavia. And so how these intelligence agencies have taken the work that's done, and in these studies, like for instance this gateway process, you have people come in and they're studying, and they take this information, this intelligence information, consciousness information, and they use it to destabilize nations through the use of media and protest and psychological subversion. And I will show you this exact playbook is being used right now in America, right now as we speak, and how they're causing chaos in the streets. And a lot of these people are hired, they're provocateurs, and they're out here just causing chaos. So, um, and if you're not out here discerning, and you're not grounded, and you're not, stepping into your sovereignty, and your sovereignty is given to you by your creator, not by man, then you're not going to be able to discern in this face of weaponized chaos. And it's not surface level stuff, guys. This is spiritual warfare, and it's disguised as politics and culture and news. And so we're going to get into it. So buckle in, take notes, and stay with me, and let's get into it. So the gateway process, it was developed through a partnership between the Monroe Institute and military intelligence. Excuse me. I'm just reading some of these notes that I have written down. So if I sound like I'm talking and then I'm reading, I'm just letting you guys know that this is all not memory. I have my notes, and so I'm just kind of going off of my notes. But so the gateway process, this was developed in partnership between the Monroe Institute and military intelligence. And this happened in the late 70s and the 80s. And it explored how sound frequencies, specifically binaural beats, could synchronize brain waves and enable deep meditative and altered states of consciousness. So this state that we're referring to is hemisync. You have two hemispheres of the brain. They come into a synchronization where the left and the right brains, they operate in harmony. And so when they're in this altered state, it's not just for relaxation or stress relief. It allows you to have astral projection. Some people have the gift of remote viewing. There's time displacements, so you can access past and present timelines during this hemisync. You have out-of-body experiences. You can have access to universal consciousness, because at the end of the day, we are all one. And I know that might be hard for some folks and that just can't grasp that because they seek something outside of themselves when we have a direct line to our creator. And this research confirmed something to me. It confirmed that there's something about these ancient spiritual traditions, what they've always taught, right? That the soul is not bound by the body and the consciousness can transcend time and space. And so when they released this study that came out about this gateway process, they declassified it in 2003. But page 25 was mysteriously missing. You know, they kept that from us, and that's an important piece. Page 25 is an important piece because it talks about our human consciousness and that we can actually access what is called the absolute. The absolute is the universal source. It is our creator. It is God. And this wasn't just a spiritual theory. It was a scientific affirmation that human beings can, under the right conditions, exit this matrix of material reality and merge with infinite consciousness. This isn't witchcraft. This is the actual truth. And they kept it from us because they don't want us connecting with the divine. Okay, because this system is ruled by those that are serving the darkness. And so to understand that you have this access to infinite consciousness and that you can have this access to wisdom that may not have been from your lifetimes, but you can access this wisdom that's just collective, right? They didn't want you to know that. And if humanity collectively remembered our divine capacity to commune with God and this entire system of control, religion, government, financial, it would crumble. And so now it's out there. Page 25 is out there. You can go and read it. It discusses how human consciousness is how we can access God. And when you realize that you can do this, like you realize like there is nothing to fear, right? We're in this divine simulation. And it's pretty cool experience. And you can get there doing breath work and you can get there doing this binaural beats. And you know, you can get through to transcendental meditation. And the thing is, when you begin to do this, like the first couple times that I did the breath work, I really had to consciously be aware, right? And being in an observation. And there's, you know, obviously what we would call our own demons would come up. The ego would reveal something that needed to be healed, because anything that triggers the ego, that needs to be looked at. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I being triggered? Asking those questions to ourselves. So, you know, soul, can you like reveal that to me? Help me remember why. And then you go into that, right? So it is a phenomenal experience. And so I'm building these retreats around this, and this is what I'm building my coaching and all of that around. And I don't like to refer to myself as a coach. It's mostly like I just want to build a community of people that are like-minded and that really just want to take this to the next level, to really access what their purpose is in this life, and then let's get on to the greatness, right? The more that we keep dialed into this nonsense and getting upset about things, it's different when you can observe free from emotion or being in control of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But sometimes I think there comes a time where we get sucked into it. So it's like we really have to make sure that you're being conscious about the time that you're on social media. And hey, I'm guilty of it too. And being able to disengage, because it isn't good for us. Once you're doing the work and things like this, and you're progressing, and you're in the flow of God, going back and dealing with this nonsense that's going on. It's not good. So weaponizing our soul. Can you believe that? Um, the tragedy is that instead of sharing this discovery with humanity to liberate us, they chose to use that in a place of power against us. This knowledge was absorbed into the military industrial complex, not the spiritual military working for liberation and truth. And so they asked themselves, how can we prevent people from achieving this state? So you have to, when you're dealing with people that are taking information and weaponizing it against us, saying, oh, okay, that's witchcraft, that meditation stuff is witchcraft. Why would they do that? How could they prevent people from achieving everything that I just told you about? Like, you can connect to God, you can astral project, remote viewing, if that's a gift that is given to you, like all of these different things, accessing wisdom, and all of these different things that are possible when you get into these altered states of consciousness. So let's ask that question. How can we prevent people from achieving this state? If you were Dr. Evil, you were over here, you're asking, okay, well, we can't let anybody know this, because then we'll lose our control. Now we're having this shift, obviously, where we're going into a new earth, a new way of thinking, and now people are going to have the opportunity to access that state and to really achieve that state of being in the absolute, and having the synchronization of both hemispheres of the brain, so that you're in complete harmony and in this space where you can have access to the divine. And so their answers would be trauma, disinformation. So they want to traumatize you. They're throwing disinformation at you, fear programming, chemical poisoning. They've used fluoride, pesticides, pharma drugs to close off our pineal gland. So they built all of these entire systems to hijack your attention, to stress your nervous system, to prevent you from ever reaching the frequency required to reconnect with your higher self. To your higher self that's lived multiple lives before this one, maybe, that you have all of that wisdom that's in your DNA that you can access. And like, it's truly like, you watch these predictive programming movies like The Matrix and even Contact with Jodie Foster, and it's like, it blows my mind, the information that's been kept from humanity. But we have it now, folks, and so that's why I'm so excited about talking about it, because it really truly can liberate us, and it's nothing that we need to fear. A lot of people have done it, and they're out here talking about their experiences. So let's talk about, okay, we were talking about the fluoride and this digital distraction, right? And the social media loops, and every time we're hearing about the chaos and the fighting and the doubt, and the disappointment, and being on the hamster wheel of the mainstream media and all of that, and So we're talking about this Operation Mockingbird, this covert CIA program that's infiltrated the mainstream media in the 50s and basically placing journalists and editors under agency direction to push propaganda and the narrative control, right? And today this looks like corporate media and the echo chambers, right? And you hear the same thing being you're a racist, or you're this, or you're that, or you're a Nazi, or all of this. And it's this narrative, and it gets pushed into these echo chambers, and you have people that are under this, like, mind control, um this mental warfare. And I mean, we know this, right? This is how this system works. This is how the enemy works, is to attack the mind. And so you have also this MK Ultra was a program of illegal mind control experiments run by the CIA that included drugging individuals with LSD, using hypnosis, electroshock, isolation, trauma to shatter the psyche, and to create programmable alters. Though officially it was shut down, survivors and whistleblowers confirmed the program simply went underground. It's been going on, and it goes on in Hollywood. We see this, where we see some of these younger stars like totally like have meltdowns. Um, and we see this, and you can see it in the eyes when you have these false flags that are happening, and these people that are, going in and to the schools. These people have been mind controlled too. They're assets, because they're literally, they have people everywhere. Everything's been infiltrated, even the schools, and they watch these kids that may be different or whatever, and take them out, or take them away for a minute and program them. And they wouldn't know anything about it, because they have this ability to do hypnosis, and to isolate and to drug people, and use them as these programmable alters, right? So, modern day tools on mental warfare are like these TikTok trends and fake outrage and moral panic loops. I think a lot of people are starting to see this, where you're like seeing this acting going on, and you're like, this isn't even real. There's so much propaganda out there. It's like, I can tell when something's fake and when it's not. And then you have this whole cancel culture. You're seeing it right now with what's going on, politically, what's going on with the stuff that's happening in Texas, um, and this mob programming, right? Like, we got to attack this person, and it's on both sides. It really is, and it causes chaos. It causes division, and it causes this uh, warfare that just keeps going around on the hamster wheel of the mainstream media. And it's like, these people have been lying to you from jump, and I just don't know why people even bother to listen to them. They lie through their teeth on a daily. Like, I don't even give it any of my energy, because why? I'm not going to do it. Now, there's certain things I will watch if I'm going to talk about something, but you know, just seeing some of this stuff on both sides, you just know, like, the sound bites they use and what they're using to just create all of this fake outrage and these media fear cycles, and like the pandemic and war and food shortages, and the situation with the eggs and the water, and this spiritual warfare is disguised as entertainment and news. It's truly sick if you think about it. So with this, we got to understand. So we have these two militaries, right? when we talk about the military, we're not just talking about the people that serve, that go, they take an oath and all of that. We have people that are in this military industrial complex that are publicly visible. They run on contracts, wars, pharma, propaganda. They control DARPA, the defense contractors, weaponized science. And this structure that kept that gateway process information buried for so long, and their allegiance to power, profit, and control. And that's it. They haven't cared about humanity at all. We've just been expendable in this whole, um, just imagine being such an egomaniac sociopath that you feel like you have to be in control of human beings. Like, I've got to control the world. It is like, it blows my mind. And then you have the good military. These are the people that are the oath keepers, right? They operate behind the scenes. You've got whistleblowers and truth holders and rogue intelligence agents that have like stepped out of the agency to kind of shed light on really what's going on. Spiritual warriors, like myself, that are working to liberate humanity from the matrix. This information in the gateway process has the power to liberate humanity. And I can say that confidently because you know why I know? Because it liberated me. I have tried it all. Sit over here and say, oh yeah, this, and not even experience it for myself. The whole thing with, LifeWave coming about and all of that. So, I want to make sure that what I'm using, that I can say, okay, yeah, this works. Like it really does. It's the real deal before I can, I'm not going to be out here promoting anything that I'm just not going to do that. That would be hypocritical. I left Big Pharma for the reasons of knowing that it is not there to help humanity at all. And so, I'm just here to share what I know and what I've learned, and so we talked about the whole thing that was going on with the Balkan conflict, and when I was in medevac at Ramstein Air Base back during that time, 95, 97, during that conflict where destabilization and media manipulation and military disinformation fractured the sovereign nations, foreshadowing what would later happen here. So it's all repeating itself. These folks use the same MO because they count on us forgetting history and not understanding it, and that's or not teaching it, right? So we're in the midway point, okay? And I brought up X39, that this is something that I wanted to try before I started to promote it. And so, but let's have this real conversation here about monetization and the mission and LifeWave. Every creator talks about making money, and somebody starts yelling, oh, you're a grifter. But podcasting and research and recording and editing and producing, it's a full-time job. And if we're going to sustain an independent truth-telling network, then we need sponsorships that align with our values, right? And we don't need to be accused of we're grifting when we're just trying to get paid for what we do, right? Like doing the research, like people get paid to do research. This is like not something that's out of the ordinary. I got paid to do research, with Big Pharma. So so to hear people being called grifters because they've done the research, like for instance, you have Derek Johnson, who done all the research on the laws and orders and out here screaming from the rooftops. And, there's people listening to him because they get it. He's been yelling it from the rooftops for 3 years now. He did all that research. He did all that research, compiled it all, put it into 2 books. And like, why shouldn't he get paid for the work that he did? He wrote a book. I just think that, there's some folks that are they get caught up in the whole money thing. And that, like, if you're making money out here, like, you should be doing this for free. And it's like, no, why? Because you're just sitting home doing nothing? I'm gonna call it out. Like, that's me. If you're pissed off because people want to provide a living when they're not, they've stepped out of, I stepped out of Big Pharma. I'm not going to sign off on it. I'm not going to work in that industry anymore because why? The industry is collapsing. I've been doing this for 23 years. The last 5 years in Big Pharma have been very, very tough, people. It really has been tough to like find contract work, or even like, I know so many people that are laid off right now from that industry because it's collapsing. Okay. And so, I left because I couldn't align with that anymore. And I want to come out here and I want to do something that I can serve humanity and, and support human healing. Okay. Not suppress it, but to support it. And so, I manifested the name Rooted Light Wellness before I even knew what LifeWave was. Then I found the X39, this non-invasive patch that activates stem cell regeneration. It improves energy flow. It helps regulate the nervous system and the pineal gland. And it's helped me go deeper into my meditative state, stay regulated, and stay aligned. And so this isn't just a product plug. This is my tool. This is my toolkit. This is part of like me implementing the gateway process into my coaching and my retreats is the same thing. I'm integrating this into my wellness business because I believe in it that much. And, I also use the Elevata patch, which I put on at night, and that also supports, pineal activation, the pineal gland activation. And so, I wear this and I'm living it. I've been using this patch for almost 4 months now. And, I can tell that I'm healing, and I'm in a much better state than I was before I started it. So, there's a lot of information out here. There's a lot of studies that support that stem cells are actually improving energy. They help regulate your nervous system, and it helps with healing. And we know that stem cells they are the beginning of all cells. So if you need heart cells, they're going to go there. If you need lung cells, they're going to go there. So the body is very intelligent in that way. So, but if you're going to sponsor your own awakening, make sure it's with something that actually supports it. Now, I think everybody should be on X39. I can honestly say that, and I can back it up with the data. Okay, I'm a data girl. I've been in research for 23 years. I was responsible for data integrity, and I was also responsible for patient safety. And hence why I kind of was like, what is going on with all of that happened in 21? And I'm not going to talk about it or deviate from what I'm talking about now, but I just, the light bulb went off. It was like, this doesn't make sense. This is not the way it's done. And so this is a non-invasive patch. This is not a vaccine. This is not any drugs going into your system. It is your own light. It is your infrared light that is basically stimulating the dormant stem cells. So we start out with 1 billion stem cells, and then by age 30, 60% go offline. And so this is why it's important to get them back online, because as you go 40 and 50, it's going down. And by the time you get to 70, you got 10%. I mean, you get folks that are now golfing again and living their best lives. And it's just truly an amazing discovery. And David Schmidt talks about how this came from God. And this is the same kind of information that I'm talking about, is the wisdom. There are codes that are in your bones, in your DNA, where your stem cells originate. They are the creation of every cell. They are the start of everything. Have something that I can use, that I believe in, and I believe in this patch, and so I can't say it enough. Please go to my Hoobie link and go and check out and do the research, and then let's get you started. What are you waiting on? Much. There's so many testimonies out there, because it's not a one size fits everybody. Everybody's going to have a different they're going to have a different thing to talk about, an experience, a testimony to talk about. So yeah.
An empowered life has no expiration date. We're all created to do incredible things, like conquer summits, catch big waves, and live our passions. As time goes on, our bodies begin to show signs that things just aren't as they used to be. Our energy levels decline, sleep patterns shift, and recovery slows. But our bodies are masterpieces of design, holding the potential to bounce back better than ever. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and regenerative science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHKCU, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, which requires external light sources, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality, enhancing the body's flow of natural energy for improvements in strength, stamina, performance, and overall health and well-being, with the simplicity of an affordable, non-invasive, non-transdermal patch. As we age, levels of these life-enhancing elements, which are associated with wellness and longevity, begin to decline. LifeWave invested 10 years into stem cell research, which resulted in over 70 patents. X39 was born to bring to the public a product that can support wellness in an entirely new way, supporting the production of younger, healthier cells with wearable light technology. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. Harness your body's natural potential to maintain youthful energy and vitality, because life comes at you fast, but it doesn't have to pass you by. Live long, live well, live young. Be the light with LifeWave X39. LifeWave.
I want folks to understand this, and it took me a long time to understand it. I was kind of slow to learning this, okay? And then it all came together and I understood. Because I was one of those that was like, I gotta wake everybody up. I gotta wake everybody up. And a lot of that comes from the ego, right? Because here's the thing. I love you. I love you guys. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you some truth. And it might be a little uncomfortable. But you cannot wake someone up who is addicted to the matrix. Let me say it again. You cannot wake anyone up who is addicted to the matrix. Okay? All you can do is speak your truth that you've discerned from. You can speak the truth, plant the seed, and that's all you can do. You can't wake people up. You can't just switch them on or switch them off. All you can do is share the truth. And so with that, we have to recognize this thing called cognitive dissonance, okay? And so cognitive dissonance is what happens when someone is presented with truth and it's so disruptive that it threatens their whole entire worldview. And they just shut down. Their eyes glaze over and they become defensive and they mock you. And that's your cue right there to stop engaging. Stop engaging. You're not there to argue. You're there to plant seeds. Speak your truth once. If it doesn't land, move on. There's other people out here. If enough people are saying the same thing, eventually it's going to break through. Okay? And just understand that there's some people that are not going to wake up in this lifetime. So once you can kind of grapple with that and understand that you're not responsible for waking anyone up, or we got to wake people up, just speak your truth. When we can speak our truth from good intention, that is better for all of us than to argue with these folks. It's just, it's not up to us. It's up to God. It's up to God. It's up to what was agreed upon before coming into this divine matrix that we're living in. So the next episode, in episode 2, we're going to talk about the color revolution. We're going to dig into it a little bit. This method of regime change used by intelligence agencies like the CIA to destabilize nations from within. We've seen this across the world. We've seen it in Germany. We've seen it in the Yugoslavia, which I talked to you about the color revolution there when I saw all of that. The former Soviet republics, Serbia, Ukraine, Georgia, all these tactics that they use, infiltrating activist movements and funding opposition media and engineering these outrage cycles. This is not a conspiracy. This is history, and it's repeating now. It's the color revolution, and it's here at our steps. So just recapping all of this, there's so much going on. And it's so important to really keep your mind tight, right? And just understand that this war on your mind, for your mind, it's real. They studied us in this gateway process, right, that I talked about. And they studied how bringing the left and the right sides of the brain together in harmony, they realized, oh my goodness, we can't let this happen. Because if people know that they can connect to the absolute, the universal source or God right there through that, then we're not going to be able to control folks. We're not going to be able to fear program folks. And this is what's happening, folks. This is what happened in 2020 when people started to wake up, and they consistently lose. And we see this. This is why we know we're winning. Humanity is winning when the media loses control of the narrative. Like, they know. And you see it, you can, if you just take a moment and kind of just get into this space where, well, first of all, I think take a break from social media, go do what you got to do, meditate, heal, whatever. When you come back in and you can be in a state where you can observe from a place of neutrality, you can understand that there is a major psychological war going on right now. And it's spiritual as well. But there's this war for your mind. It's real. They've studied your soul and they're weaponizing it. They're weaponizing all of that to prevent you from achieving the state that you could by connecting to the divine. And they use religion to program you from the pulpits and tell you that there is a separation between you and God, and there is not. It is a lie, and I will shout that from the rooftops until my dying day. It is the greatest, like, travesty, I believe, against humanity. To have people think that they have to have a middleman between God and themselves. It's terrible. So just understand, like, this is the part of breaking free, right? And it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's possible. Okay. And like, it's the greatest. I'm so grateful that I can sit. It's not that I'm sitting back, obviously, but I can sit back. I can be in the present. I can observe what's going on, and I know that I don't have to fight every battle. I know that I don't have to convince anyone. I just share my truth. I plant the seeds, and I protect my energy. And it's not that I'm just sharing my truth. Like, now I'm starting to, like, be able to get into that whole wisdom, collective wisdom. And I'm actually sharing that wisdom. That is the truth. And to be able to give these insights on, really what's going on, right? Like, none of these tactics went away. They're still using it on us. And the more that we dial in and we're not in the present, the more that we keep doing this hamster wheel of the mainstream media, and we keep going through this whole, our nervous systems are freaking wrecked because of all of this. And you're in this survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're not going to be at peace. And, like I said, the nastiness, people are starting to really show their, show their trauma, okay? Like, just show it, like, disconnection. And it's something to observe. And I just pray, I pray that everything will just come to center. But I wanted to share that because the gateway process, this was part of my wake-up call, and it gave me a framework to step out of my trauma cycles and my programming. I have military programming, and, we've all had educational programming. We're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But I've kind of always been a conspiracy theorist. When it happened and 9/11 happens, I was like, yeah. I was asking questions that people thought were like, why are you asking these questions? Because I ask questions. I don't care. I've always been that way. I ask questions. I'm not going to do something or say something because somebody wants me to say something or do something. I want to know why. What's the reason? And then if I have enough information that I can make a decision to do so or to not do so, then I'm going to do that. And so that's what happened in 2020. I didn't have enough information that made me feel safe about even going into that. Actually, I was questioning everything. Like, what is going on here? This doesn't make sense. All of this doesn't make any sense to me. And being able to really kind of separate from the fear programming and seeing it all in real time with all of that. So yeah. So just understand that Real healing happens when you understand your soul's timelines, the past lives, and the connection to the absolute, the source, the divine creator, God. And when we can actually sit with God, like that's when you realize, wow, I have nothing to fear. Like I'm just here in this school that they call life to really evolve my soul, to heal these certain things that I didn't do in whatever lifetimes. And I'm going to share some of that because there's experiences that I've gone through, and like in order to activate all of that. So, and I plan to share that with you folks as well. So just understand, we're not here to wake anybody up. Our role is to plant the seed, share the truth, and then know when to step back. That's our greatest asset right now, is knowing when to push just enough and walk away, and somebody else can come in. It's not our responsibility to, it's not my responsibility to go wake up XYZ and Sue and Billy over there. Like I just speak my truth, and in that, that's what happens with these. It's a catalyst, right? It's just a little bit more chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And when people hear the same thing over and over again, it's like, wait a minute, I'm hearing this how many times now? So that concludes this episode. And so stay tuned for the next episode, where we're going to get into talking about more of the color revolution. And then we're also going to get into talking about the psychological warfare that's going on. So thank you so much for listening. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Instagram. I have Rooted Drops, which is just going to be like just drops of wisdom. And then I have Rooted Light Wellness, which is my wellness company, and lots of X39 will be on there. And then, I cross post as well, but, and then I have, the retreats are coming up, and then, Harness the Shift. Harness the Shift with Jay. That's on, Instagram too. I'm also on Facebook, and that is, Rooted Drops, Jay Johnson. And I'm on, I have my, I'm sorry, I'm like blanking out here. My Substack. My Substack is Rooted Drops with Jay. I'm on TikTok too, and that's Rooted Drops with Jay. And so we're all here. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, is really just doing the work. And we're here to reclaim. We're here to reclaim our sovereignty. You're here to reclaim you. So stay rooted in the light and stay rewired for the return. And we'll talk soon. Sending you love on your journey. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for your support. I truly, truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot. And, we're going to build some, excuse me, amazing communities of like-minded souls. And those that actually want to really go deep into this and really, learn about themselves and learn about who they are. Not everybody's cut out for the work, folks. And so just do what you can and choose your battles and protect your energy. All right, guys, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk very soon. Take care.